Welcome to Oakwood Cemetery, home of the poor, forgotten, and famous souls. This cemetery began in the 1800s for the poor and was Spartanburg County's first large-scale public cemetery. Originally, this cemetery was for those without means. This included prisoners, the mentally ill, and orphans. Over time, wealthier individuals began to be buried here on the higher, hallowed ground. Children were laid to rest in a designated back portion. Beyond them were trees that separated the cemetery from the potter's field. It is rumored the cemetery's alternate name, Hell's Gates, came about during the 1900s when hundreds of graves from various places were moved here. It is also said that the name came about after this as the cemetery became a place for satanic rituals. Regardless of how the cemetery got its nickname and reputation, today it is declared to be the most haunted place in South Carolina. While here, it is said that you can experience apparitions, screams, and orbs. People have claimed to experience spots of cold air, hear the sounds of children, and feel tugging on their clothes. Others have claimed to have been scratched or even had objects thrown at them. Also, it is commonly said that batteries will go dead here, cars will not crank, and if you shine lights on the angel statues, you can see tears. There are two main ghost stories that I know that are associated with this place. The first involves a woman being hit by a nearby train. The second story that I've heard is about a woman coming with her child to visit a family member's grave. While she was at the grave, her child wandered down to the potter's field where he fell down the hill and died. Later, out of grief and guilt, the mother decided life wasn't worth living without her child. Today, she is known as the Lady in White. She is said to wander as a white fog looking for her child. Truly, to me, the cemetery is more sad than scary. It's heartbreaking to see the forgotten graves in the woods, the broken tombstones, and the mementos of coins and toys that are left. I think about how sad the families of the wealthy must have been to leave such grand monuments for their mothers, fathers, and siblings. These people are laying their rest, and there's no such thing as ghosts. They're resting. They're dead, and hopefully they're in heaven.
Zero. Am I haunted? Yeah.
The next day, I went back in the daylight to get a better look. This cemetery is truly a beautiful, peaceful, and interesting place. It has some of the most beautiful and unique markers and epitaphs. It isn't uncommon to see people enjoying a walk here, and I want to share a few things that I learned about the graves here during my visit. The Cantrell marker marks the place for the Cantrell family burial site. In this cemetery there are lots of Cantrells. Beside this giant Cantrell marker, which has one of the two angel statues, is Fielding Cantrell, Fielding Turner Cantrell, Sally W. Cantrell, and Emma Thompson Cantrell. Fielding Turner Cantrell was born on March 8, 1856 in South Carolina, and he died at the age of 83 on September the 2nd, 1939. His father was Isaac Cantrell, owner of the Spartanburg Carriage Shop. He is buried alongside Emma Thompson Cantrell. Her birthday was January the 10th, 1856 in South Carolina, and she died July 16, 1931 at the age of 75. She and her husband Fielding had 7 children together. The other Fielding Cantrell was born on December the 5th, 1817. He passed at the age of 79 on November the 26th, 1897. His wife is also buried nearby. Her name was Sally W. Their marker is truly beautiful and a must-see when you come to visit this cemetery. The next monument that caught my eye was that of Colonel Joseph A. Walker. He was born on May 18, 1835 in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He died on January 27, 1902 at the age of 66. He passed after several months of illness. During his life, he worked in business as a clerk. He also fought in the Civil War as a captain and was in the first company to be raised in the county. He rose in ranks to colonel of the sharpshooters and then served until the bitter surrender. After the Civil War, he went into the cotton and guano business and was very successful. So successful, he became the president of the Merchant and Farmers Bank and was even later mayor of the city. He was also a trustee of Converse College and was a member of the Presbyterian Church. Joseph was married to Susan Elizabeth Wingo Walker. She lived from 1839 to 1900. She had several children with Joseph, including Alice, Felix, Susan, and Joseph. She died on April 19, 1900 at the age of 60 in Spartanburg. Her parents were Alexander Wingo and Katharina Beavings Wingo. Susan's great-grandfather on her father's side was John Wingo, a patriot during the Revolutionary War. John served in Captain Anderson's company in Virginia. Susan's grandfather on her mother's side was owner of Bivings Cotton Manufacturing Company, a cotton mill that opened around 1835 in Crawfordville, later known as Fairmont. The mill was damaged in a flood in 1903 and then rebuilt. The mill produced hula hoops after 1958. In 1962, Lyman Printing and Finishing Company used the mill as a warehouse until it was destroyed by a fire in 1977. Today, the stone dam remains and the building rubble remains. Next, I went to the gravesite of Charles Cloud Fowler, born on July 14, 1866. He passed away at 28 years old on May 28, 1895. His parents was James A. Fowler and Mary Arabella Cloud Fowler. He had several siblings, including Mary, James, Joseph, and a half-sibling named Emma. His father was a buggy manufacturer and they lived on Magnolia Street. The next marker that caught my eye was that of the Harris family. This is the resting place for Mary Ella Harris, known by friends and family as Mela. She was born on September the 15th, 1902 in Spartanburg, and passed away at the age of 79 in May of 1982. Mela's mother was Harriet Carolina Gentry Harris, and she came from a very affluential family. Her father was John W. Harris, and while not from a wealthy family, he was very well educated and a successful farmer. Mela was the youngest of their 10 children. She was born at home in the house that her parents built near the Southern Shops Railway Yard, on the land her grandfather, Sheriff L. Miles Gentry, had given them. Eventually, Mela began to call the home the Bee's Hive because she said it was always buzzing with people. They lived there until her mother Hattie died in 1939 and Hattie's brother John gained ownership of the land. According to Mela, he did so by lying to the judge and then sold the land out from underneath them, forcing them to move. The land is now used for industrial purposes. Mela was a graduate of Converse and was an English teacher. Many of her students became leaders and politicians. At least one of them became a mayor of Spartanburg and remembered her by saying that she was the toughest teacher he ever had. Mela was a romantic and loved writing short stories, one of which turned out to be true, a young girl secretly marrying a red-headed soldier who went off to Europe but never came back. Regardless, Mela never remarried again, but remained a romantic dreamer who escaped in books. Next, I wandered over to the only other angel statue in the cemetery. It marks the resting place of Leslie Clarence Dodge. He was born on September the 20th, 1886, in Plainfield, Union County, New Jersey. He died on January the 23rd, 1975, and died at the age of 88. While his father is unknown, his mother was Josephine Engelman Dodge. During his life, Leslie was married twice, first to Maya Isabella Claus Dodge, and next to B. DeVue Nesbitt Dodge. Through his marriages, he fathered 2 daughters, Mary, who was born in 1921, and Mia, who was born in 1923. William Madison Bomar was born on November the 15th, 1843. He passed at age 74 on June 19th, 1918. William's parents were Booker Bomar and Louisa A. Hobby Bomar. As an adult, William married Elizabeth Logan Bomar. William's grandfather, Edward, was born in Essex County, Virginia. Edward was born on February 11, 1767, and moved to South Carolina in 1796. Edward settled on the water of the North Tiger River, 6 miles west of Spartanburg County's courthouse. Edward's first wife was Mary Wood, who died in 1833, and Edward's second wife was Mary Treadway. She passed in 1857. Edward himself passed on April the 30th, 1855, after a long and useful life. Edward was a chapter member and for many years served as a deacon at Mount Zion Baptist Church. Edward was known as a man of prayer who was modest and revered, but firm in his convictions. However, William made his mark in the county by enlisting in June 1861 in Fair Forest and becoming a member of Company F of the 13th South Carolina Volunteers. William was wounded in Fredericksburg on December the 13th, but luckily was able to live out his life as a farmer and later mechanic. William was quoted as saying, "I am still carrying in the center of my breast a shrapnel ball from a shell." William's brother, George Washington Bomar, was also a Confederate soldier. George was born on August 24, 1847 in Spartanburg and died at only 16 years of age on March 7, 1864. William also had a sister pass away at only 2 and a brother who passed away at 12. Among William's siblings, Brother Luther, Thomas, Manly, and Liesel, and his sister Rhoda moved to Texas after the Civil War. In conclusion, I would definitely not recommend coming here at night, not because of ghosts, but because it's a crime. While the cemetery isn't locked at night, trips are discouraged and fines enforced. This is to prevent vandalism, injury, and the homeless from sleeping here. I hope you will still make a day trip to this splendid cemetery and learn something about the people whose earthly remains are here. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, and as always, thanks for watching.